Hi everyone, welcome to our talk on the long tail of animation. So my name is Maggie Aherne. I work as a product manager for a company in Dublin called HubSpot. I'm joined today by Nunn and John Clear. And before we get started, maybe Nisha and John could introduce themselves, tell us what they're working on at the moment, and give us a little bit of background on their experience or their interest in animation.
So my name is Nunn. I'm a festival producer and director. I've been working on festivals and events for the last 25 years or so. I have a company called Cartoon Saloon with my good wife Maria, and we run events such as the Bram Stoker Festival in Dublin, Kilkenomics in Kilkenny. I worked on the Cat Laughs Comedy Festival for 15 years or so. Also Minefield and Electric Picnic, Body and Soul Festival, and finally, and relevant to this, is a new festival called Kilkenny Animated, which we developed with Cartoon Saloon in Kilkenny with the support of Fáilte Ireland, and I'm pleased to say here, I think publicly for the first time, that we have sponsorship from Netflix for that festival, which happens between the 4th and the 6th of October this year in Kilkenny. So that's me.
Yeah, I can't beat that one anyway. So congratulations.
You've done all our websites though.
That is true, yeah. But no, look, that's great to have Netflix as a sponsor for an event in Kilkenny. That's huge. So my name is John. I'm from Red Lemonade. We're a product strategy company in Kilkenny. We're talking about animation, but I can't draw. I know a little bit about animation, but I do ride the coattails of animation in the Southeast, so it's good for me. So animation is good for me as a business because we've worked with Cartoon Saloon on several websites. Nunn has obviously the Kilkenny Animate, and we work with them on that as well. So the long tail of animation is beginning to flourish, I think.
Great guys, thanks for those introductions. So I was based over in Canada for almost 10 years. When I was over there and when we had our oldest son, we used to watch one of Cartoon Saloon's animated shows, Puff and Rock. The thing that I loved about Puff and Rock was, its simplicity and also the attention to detail in the animation. Their stuff is just so unique. It's so gorgeous. They totally have their finger on the pulse. Like, they're using a lot of celebrities, such as Chris O'Dowd. They've done work with Angelina Jolie, and obviously they were getting in on this video on demand game very, very early on. Obviously Apple, they announced their new streaming service there recently, and we all know that kids today, they're not watching television in the way that we're used to it. So surely this opens the floodgates to other animation companies to learn from Cartoon Saloon. Nisha, maybe you can talk a little bit about how we can sort of embrace that and what the next steps will be.
Well, it's just interesting. I was talking to Paul Young from Cartoon Saloon, one of the founders, along with Nora Toomey and Tom Moore yesterday, and Paul was telling me that of Cartoon Saloon's current projects, only one of them is a traditional television broadcaster. So they're doing a feature film with Netflix, My Father's Dragon, which is being directed by Nora Toomey. And they're doing, with Apple, they're doing Wolfwalkers, which is directed by Tom Moore, who also directed Song of the Sea and Secret of Kells. And actually, Tom was over at the announcement at Apple headquarters last week, hanging out with Steven Spielberg and Jennifer Aniston and all the rest. But it's just interesting that, of all the work that they've been doing over the last 20 years, at the moment, 90%, other than one series with Nickelodeon, 90% of their output that they're working on is with non-traditional, subscriber-based cable-cutting companies. So it's a really interesting model, and actually what they've done is a year and a half or so ago, they did a joint venture with a Canadian company called Mercury Filmworks and set up a new animation studio in Kilkenny called Lighthouse Studios. So Cartoon Saloon is now employing about 160 people. Lighthouse is employing about, I think about 80 or 90 people. So there's about 250 people engaged in animation in Kilkenny alone. And I suppose the thing is that what Lighthouse does is that they're producing and working on the more commercial and the less kind of artistically flourishing versions of animation, and Cartoon Saloon kind of retains the the very, very high end, very high concept, and the simplicity as well that you talked about, that's imbued with big emotion but not with with flashy special effects. It comes from first principles. So even in the last 20 years, they've managed to diversify animation in Kilkenny, and I think that's really the future of it. Is that the success of having 4 Oscar nominations in 5 years or 6 years will attract other animation companies to come to Kilkenny, because there's a pool of talent there, and there's just there's a reputation there that's ready to be fed into and to feed off.
And John, do you see, maybe say if there was some small animation companies or some people in the region who were interested in this area, who were working in this area, is there opportunities for them to maybe open up their own animation studio or set up their own company?
Yeah, I mean, there is an opportunity to open up an animation studio, but it's, as Cartoon Saloon will probably tell you, it takes a long time to get out there, and you need a big team for an animation studio. But what would be interesting is, and I don't have the answer to it, what are the other kind of businesses that would have synergy with Cartoon Saloon? So, like what Naoise is doing, that has synergy with what Cartoon Saloon is, and it just complements everything that's happening. But what other businesses is there that it could work with? So, I think gaming could be an absolutely massive one as well. So, that's something that hasn't really been looked at yet. But like I said, in Vancouver, gaming is massive. Tokyo is absolutely huge, and in Spain as well, in Madrid, it's really, really big. And I think there's a lot of complementary services that happen with that, But I think then what you do is you look more at the psychographics end of it, like the kind of people you want to attract to Kilkenny to do that. When we talk about Cartoon Saloon, we're talking about a craft. This is a real craft. And if you look at what happened with Apple today, it's no coincidence that Apple picked Cartoon Saloon. Cartoon Saloon are just perfect for what Apple are trying to do with their streaming, because if you watch the show, Apple started with introducing Steven Spielberg, and he ended with Oprah Winfrey, and didn't mention Quentin Tarantino. So Cartoon Saloon fit somewhere perfectly in between that, So I think that really works for them. So I think it's about attracting high end of the animation, of the gaming, and bringing it into the southeast. So gaming is just one example of a complementary, but it could be some production work that Cartoon Saloon that would be really good to be, physically close by. But I don't know what they are. I haven't delved into it too much, but there is opportunity there.
And on that note, actually, we had Aherne from Imagine speaking earlier, and I've been down in Ahrene's studios, the Imagine studios down in Waterford, and what they're doing with virtual reality is just phenomenal. There's also some other companies in Waterford. There's Immersive VR Education in Waterford as well, working on VR. And I know from speaking with these guys that a lot of the skills do overlap. What do you guys think we can do to sort of encourage that cross-pollination between, say, VR and animation, and also kind of what you're talking about with gaming?
Well, I think one of the main things you've got to do is create a culture, and the culture is created by things like the intangible stuff, like festivals, for example, like the festival that we're going to have, but also to do with the educational throughput there is in the region. There's a degree course in animation which is in Clonmel, in this tiny little facility in Clonmel that's run by the Limerick Institute of Technology. I mean, that really, you would think ought to be in Kilkenny. I mean, we'd love to have it in Kilkenny, and the local authority bought the old Smithwick's Brewery site and is developing that as a creative quarter, an Abbey quarter. So you would hope that in time there'll be huge kind of movements there in terms of developing a third level educational resource there that feeds into an industry that's incredibly creative and has huge added value. So that's part of it. I mean, it's a cultural thing, it's an educational thing, and then you've got national and local government coming in to support that with the help of the IDA. So it's got to be across lots of different planes. But I think the most important aspect for me is the intangible thing. I mean, it's about creating a culture and a society in Kilkenny that makes people want to come and live there. And that's first and foremost what it's about. The jobs follow that, and the types of people, the types of creative people who come to do those jobs add to the community and add to the culture of the place.
And actually, talk to me a little bit more about the festivals. And obviously, living in Kilkenny, you get there's festivals every second week. It's amazing. But there's obviously more purposeful reasons you're hosting these or you're having these to bring in sort of people to the region. Like, how does that sort of help us with like encouraging more jobs and that?
Yeah, I suppose I like to jokingly call Kilkenny Galway for grown-ups. Proper festivals. But the thing is about the festivals in Kilkenny is they're quite niche. They're not generalist festivals. So you have Kilkenny Animated, which is in October, which is an animation festival. You've got Kilkenomics, which is in November, which is economics and comedy. The Cat Laughs, obviously, in June. The Savour Food Festival. There's the Arts Festival, which has developed into quite a, even starting off as a general festival, is now quite a niche festival of classical music and traditional music. So it's kind of finding a niche and getting really, really good at it. So instead of doing a general festival, you do something that you can attract global attention for, and that's how you get the biggest names in. And likewise with animation, there's another animation festival in Dingle and Kerry, but it's very much aimed at students and aimed at recruitment for animation companies in Dublin and elsewhere. What we're doing with Kilkenny Animated in Kilkenny is it's much more public facing. It's about making animation, educating people that animation is far more accessible and is in their life far more than they think. And then there's the ability with the reputation of Cartoon Saloon to bring in some of the biggest names in the business. And kind of part of my, we was in Los Angeles with the Cartoon Saloon guys during Oscar week, and we had a meeting with Netflix, and I said to them, I have an ambition that Kilkenny could become basically the European green room for Netflix. So not just in animation, but also we've got a film festival in December, Subtitle Film Festival, and there's the comedy festival as well. And there's an opportunity there for Netflix to come entertain all their biggest names in Kilkenny, which is wonderful for hosting people. It's on the doorstep of Europe, an hour, 2.5 hours from London, and that's something I'd like to develop in the coming years, is that Netflix and other companies can use Kilkenny as effectively as a European green room.
That sounds totally amazing.
That is really good, because I think like the festival for Subtitle, they do that quite well. There's the B2C phase, which everyone comes to the festival. There's B2B stuff going on as well. So for Netflix, that could be a really, really good opportunity for Kilkenny.
Yeah, for in Subtitle, yeah. Amazingly, it's a film festival, a European film festival, so it's all Subtitle films. But below the line is, and this is absolutely the case, it is the biggest gathering of casting directors anywhere in the world, bigger than the Berlin Festival, bigger than Cannes, bigger than anything. It's the biggest gathering of casting directors anywhere in the world, amazing, in Kilkenny in November.
And they'll have their interviews in hotel rooms, and it's amazing actually. But what another thing there is that what Naoise was hitting on earlier on is, when you turn off the majority, you turn on the minority, and there's plenty of business in the minority. So by going niche really helps. So going narrow and going deep works really, really well. But also there was another area I was going to talk about, which is, it's deep roots. So in Kilkenny, at Kilkenomics, to get me a show at Kilkenomics, the opening show. So we just talked at the last Kilkenomics about what we can do in the southeast and in Kilkenny. And one of the biggest things that came out from The Economist was to work with the deep root companies, deep root industry sectors in the southeast. So he was like picking on animation, double down on it, find angles like Naoise's finding. Into agri, very deep roots, double down, find angles on it. And I don't think we're doing enough of that, but it's beginning to start. I can see there's definitely green shoots happening, but we need a lot more work on it, I think.
And I have one more question for you, John, actually, speaking about that. So like it's no secret that the southeast is, we're not doing too great in terms of developing jobs in tech here, and there's a lot of people, myself included, who have to either commute to Dublin or working for companies, large international companies, working remotely for them. One thing that I've really noticed is that the counties seem to work almost in silo, and there doesn't seem to be huge collaboration amongst the counties to try and encourage industries in the region, or jobs in the region, and look at focusing on like taking companies like, say, Viora is in Waterford, animation is in Kilkenny, but would we not be much more powerful if we worked as a region on these different skills?
Yeah, I think so, and I think that there's two areas where that works. Is the grassroots, so you have like the Tech Thursdays, events like this as well, where it's coming from enterprise. That works really well to start building it, and then you have the grass tops government coming from local government and whatever. But there is a grass tops one. It's Ireland Southeast, so they're working to try and create, a culture or an atmosphere of a Southeast region. It is a tough job, and I think a lot of work has to be done on it. I think that and building that culture is difficult. We had the Three Sisters, which is an example of something that they did do. Now, they didn't win the thing, but it was a good test to begin. But I know that judges did come back and said there was too much of a focus on, like, pulling out food and dancing and stuff, and they were wondering where was the economic benefits, what are you doing in business? And I think if we had some of the things that are happening now, like Naoise talking about there, I think that would have swung our way a little bit better. But I think there has to be much more of a business focus, and for me, the culture kind of comes from that. I know it's an egg and chicken thing really, but maybe I'm not describing it very well. But it's a tough one. But I think I think the grassroots level actually is not strong enough, and neither is the grass tops one and the meeting of the two. And I think that industries around the Southeast need to be far more proactive in working together and making things happen, and that is enterprise led. But sometimes they're waiting on someone else to do it, but more people have to take the lead in industry.